The connections between prescription drugs and mass shootings and other acts of violence. Right now in our society, we're not giving proper attention to how prescription drugs could be causing acts of violence. In America, you could be watching the evening news and you'll see several commercials for prescription drugs that will mention suicide, suicidal thoughts, and acts of violence as side effects. One gentleman, John Noveski, who owned his own rifle company, made an interesting Facebook post on the conversation literally just days before he died in a mysterious car crash. I will read his post to bring some attention to prescription drugs and violence. Eric Harris, age 17, first on Zoloft, then Luvox, and Dylan Klebold, aged 18, the Columbine shooters, killed 12 students and one teacher, wounding 23 others before killing themselves. Klebold's medical records have never been made public. Jeff Wise, age 16, had been prescribed 60 milligrams a day of Prozac, 3 times the average starting dose for adults, when he shot his grandfather, his grandfather's girlfriend, and many fellow students in Minnesota. He then shot himself, a total of 10 dead and 12 wounded. A gentleman aged 16 in Washington State High School was on Paxil, which caused him to have hallucinations. He took a rifle to his high school and held 23 classmates hostage. He has no memory of the event. Chris Fetters, age 13, killed his favorite aunt while taking Prozac. Christopher Pittman, age 12, murdered both his grandparents while taking Zoloft. Matthew Miller, age 13, hung himself in a bedroom closet after taking Zoloft for only 6 days. A 15-year-old on Prozac and Ritalin shot his parents while they slept, then went to school and opened fire, killing 2 classmates and injuring 22 shortly after beginning the Prozac treatment. Luke Woodham, age 16, on Prozac, killed his mother, then killed 2 students, wounding 6 others. A boy on Zoloft in 1998 had a Zoloft-induced seizure that caused an armed standoff at his school. A 14-year-old on Ritalin opened fire on students at a high school prayer meeting in Kentucky. 3 teenagers were killed, 5 others were wounded. A young man in Alabama on Ritalin went psychotic, chopping up his parents with an axe and also killing one sibling, almost murdering another. Andrew Golden, age 11, on Ritalin, and Mitchell Johnson, age 14, on Ritalin, shot 15 people, killing 4 students, 1 teacher, and wounding 10 others. T.J. Solomon, age 15, on Ritalin, living in Georgia, opened fire and wounded 6 of his classmates. Rod Matthews, age 14, on Ritalin, beat a classmate to death with a bat. James Wilson, age 19, on various psychiatric drugs from South Carolina, took a .22 caliber revolver into the elementary school, killing 2 young girls, wounding 7 other children and 2 teachers. Elizabeth Bush, age 13, on Paxil, was responsible for a school shooting in Pennsylvania. Jason Hoffman on Effexor and Celexa was responsible for a school shooting in California. Jared Victor, age 15, on Paxil, after only 5 days, stabbed his grandmother 61 times. Chris Shanahan, age 15, on Paxil, killed a woman randomly. Jeff Franklin on Prozac and Ritalin killed his parents as they came home from work using a sledgehammer, a hatchet, a butcher knife, and a mechanic's file, and then attacked his younger brothers and sister. A gentleman on Prozac in was involved in an LA Jewish school shooting, reported to have been court-ordered on Prozac along with several other medications. Kevin Ryder, age 14, was withdrawing from Prozac when he died from a gunshot wound to his head. Initially, it was ruled a suicide, but 2 years later, the investigation into his death opened it up as a possible homicide. The prime suspect was also age 14 and had been taking Zoloft and other SSRI antidepressants. Alex Kim, age 13, hung himself shortly after his Lexapro prescription had been doubled. Diane Routhier had been prescribed Wellbutrin for her gallstone problems. 6 days later, after suffering many adverse effects to the drug, she shot herself. An accomplished wrestler and University of Florida student had been prescribed Prozac at the age of 17. His family found him dead of a suicide, hanging from a tall ladder at the family's Gulf Shore Boulevard home in July 2002. A young lady of 12 was on Paxil when she hung herself from a hook in her closet. Her parents said, "The damn doctor wouldn't take her off of it. I asked him to when we went to the second visit. I told him I thought she was having some sort of reaction to the Paxil." A young man from Vancouver, age 18, was on Paxil when he committed suicide in 2002. His father could not accept his son's death and killed himself. Julie Woolward, age 17, was on Zoloft when she hung herself in her family's detached garage. Matthew Miller was 13 when he saw a psychiatrist because he was having difficulty at school. The psychiatrist gave him samples of Zoloft. 7 days later, his mother found him dead, hanging from a belt in the laundry hook in the closet. Kurt, age 18, was on Prozac, killed his father with a shotgun. He's now behind bars and writes letters warning others that SSRI drugs can kill. Woody, age 37, committed suicide while in his 5th week of taking Zoloft. Shortly before his death, his physician suggested doubling the dose of the drug. He had seen the physician only for insomnia. He had never been depressed, nor did he have any history of mental illness. A boy from Houston, age 10, shot and killed his father while on Prozac when his prescription actually increased. A young man, age 15, shot and killed a fellow middle school student. He had been diagnosed with ADHD and depression and was taking Zoloft and other drugs for the conditions. A 22-year-old culinary student shot and killed 9 students and a teacher and wounded another student before killing himself. He was taking SSRIs and other drugs. Stephen, age 27, shot and killed 5 people and wounded 21 others before killing himself in a Northern Illinois University auditorium. According to his girlfriend, he had recently been taking Prozac, Xanax, and Ambien. Toxicology results found that he still had traces of Xanax in his system. A Finnish gunman, aged 18, had been taking antidepressants before he killed 8 people and wounded a dozen more at a high school, then committed suicide. A 14-year-old from Cleveland shot and wounded 4 before taking his own life. Court records show that he was on trazodone. John Romano, age 16, on medication for depression, fired a shotgun at a teacher in his New York high school. Missing from the list, 3 out of 4 known to have taken similar meds. What drugs was Jared Lee Loeffler on, age 21? Killed 6 people, injuring 14 in Tucson, Arizona. What drugs was James Egan Holmes on, age 24? Killed 12 people, injuring 59 others in Aurora, Colorado. What drugs was Jacob Tyler Roberts on, age 22? Killed 2, injured 1. What drugs was Adam Peter Lanza, age 20, killed 26, wounded 2 in Newtown, Connecticut. Roberts is the only one who has not been known of taking any drugs. According to reports, John Noveski's car traveled across the oncoming lane onto the dirt highway shoulder until it struck 2 large boulders. The vehicle rolled over and Mr. Noveski was ejected. So this gentleman, John Noveski, put this report up on Facebook and unfortunately died a few days later before any more could come of it. But it's interesting to see how many acts of violence and mass shootings have been linked to SSRIs and antidepressants among other prescription drugs.